Y'all, we need to wake up and realize that it is not a homeless problem that needs fixing. It is our attitudes and our judgments and our actions going forward that need to improve. And we already created this problem. There are 7,000 displaced people living in San Francisco. Let's talk about the San Francisco War on the Homeless, shall we? So, some people are talking lately about San Francisco and the problem with the homeless community there. It's on the rise. It's upwards of over 7,000 people being without home. And lately, Tent City has been the subject of public and media fodder, with the mayor deciding to clean up the area, saying that it is unsafe and has been deemed a hazard for the city, both its residents of Tent City and the passersby, which is absolutely ludicrous. This is the wealthy's war on the homeless. And it's really sad to sit by and watch. Honestly, I live in Portland, Oregon, just north of San Francisco, and our homeless population here is abundant. However, even calling them homeless just feels like such a dig because fucking obviously they're homeless. But I think being in that situation, already feeling like you're your own worst enemy, you know what got you there. Life in general has taken you to a place that feels like it's your lowest point. You've probably lost everything. I mean, many of us have been through struggles, whether it's with addiction or loss of a job or a loved one. You know, we go through our shit, right? And sometimes people just get down on their luck and don't really have anyone to turn to, because honestly, how many times can you say you would have pulled your own ass out of a situation you got yourself in? Maybe somebody that you love or somebody close to you that cares about you helped you out. And without those people, maybe you would be without home. So no judgment anymore on these people. I'm so sick and tired of seeing some of my Facebook friends comment and say that the homeless or the poor are the reason that we don't have a middle class, which is so ludicrous. It's the wealthy, the elitists that are taking away the middle class. It's them who are keeping the poor poor. Like, we need to stand up for people who don't have the means to stand up for themselves. That's what this is all about. I mean, this is ridiculous. So this tent city in San Francisco, it became the safe haven for homeless people when a new shelter called Pier 80, a homeless shelter in San Francisco, was just built. I think I read somewhere that upwards of $1 million was spent on this new facility to be open for the homeless, which is amazing. That sounds great. However, the people who are being interviewed who have stayed there are saying that it's prison-like conditions and you have to check in almost every day, otherwise you'll lose your spot in there. You don't have any real security or privacy or any place to call your own. It's just sleeping on a mat next to strangers, and the bathrooms are porta potties. So these aren't conditions anybody really wants to raise a child in, and a lot of the population are with child in this community, so it's something that you need to think about. The sanitary issues, the safety issues, the privacy issues. I mean, we all have our own bedrooms within our home. When we get tired of our family, we lock ourselves away and escape online. But honestly, what do we think these people do? They live in their thoughts. They live in misery. They're surrounded by it constantly, and we can't even have the compassion to allow a small population of these individuals the freedom that is being without this facility, this check-in, this prison-like home where they can't feel like anything is theirs. I know somebody here in the Portland area, I was speaking to him. He was staying at a shelter and he could never have a visitor there at the shelter, and he couldn't stay overnight at a friend's house or he would lose his spot. That's such a serious thing for somebody to have to go through. It's like, you want to be independent. You want to find a spot to stay nightly, maybe a friend or a relative to rely on, but you're punished for doing that. It's gotta be exhausting. But then these mega cities like San Francisco or Manhattan that push out the poor because the elitists, the tech, or the Wall Street industry take over, and they want their Whole Foods and their gyms and their Apple stores on every corner, and that's great for them, but it's awful, and it's gentrification at its worst, and there's going to become elitist cities that the poor can't even afford to be in. It's going to be a way for the wealthy to segregate themselves within the within this country from the poor. That's sick and unheard of. The United States are a melting pot of culture and diversity, and nobody should buy their way out of it. It happens all the time. This billionaire class that we're all chasing after, which is so ridiculous. Like, no billionaire is fucking happy. Find me a happy billionaire who doesn't have problems, and I'll start to rethink your whole ideology. It doesn't exist. More money, more problems. Y'all love Biggie, right? Like, seriously, that just doesn't exist. The more money you take on, the more problems you're creating. You're going to surround yourself with shitty friends who don't really have your back. You're going to rely on people who don't have your best interest at heart. You're going to believe in people who don't care about you. You're going to find out the hard way that shit exists within you, and you need to fix yourself first. And now I'm sounding all preachy, but for real, this homeless problem that everybody thinks needs to be solved is really pissing me off. Our whole ideology that we're above it, that we shouldn't have to walk down the street and see impoverished people suffering. That's a quote from an elitist, Justin Keller in San Francisco, an entrepreneur, but who the fuck wants to be any part of his business? He feels like he's above that because he got himself a college education and worked real hard for his tech money. And honestly, it's fine to think that, but to say it and to put that out into the public, it's just hateful. Like, honestly, how are you going to look at a poor person as you walk by them and judge them thinking that you know what got them there? You assume that they have a drug problem. You assume that they couldn't handle alcohol and got kicked out of their home. Like, we create these crazy scenarios when all the while it's actually they got let go of their job, and maybe they're going through a divorce, or maybe they have an illness and a medical bill that put them on the streets. We don't know anybody's anything, and the fact that we're walking down the streets judging everybody is ridiculous. We're not connected anymore. Justin Keller should be fucking ashamed of himself, and I hope there are people shaming him publicly. Like, that's ridiculous. Honestly, I can't believe somebody's going to say they don't feel like they should be bothered with seeing poor people on the street suffering. That's what he said. He feels like he rose above that. Like, he isn't human or something. Like, how dare somebody speak like that? It just baffles me. In this city that I live in, I mean, if you want to cross a bridge over the river, good luck not passing one person without home. And every time I pass by them, my heart breaks because I'm thinking, God, I complain all the time that I'm broke. I think I have nothing. I want to be able to afford a comfortable lifestyle. And God, that's changed for me in the last 2 years drastically. It used to be tons of clothes and outings and drinks and all of that crazy. And I love that stuff still, but I appreciate more of the calm inner peace that just being able to afford healthy food and a roof over your head and clean water can afford you. And I know that sounds hippie, and I know people who know me think, damn, Portland changed you, but it really hasn't. It just gave me a safe space away from judgment to allow myself to think, what's good for me? What is healthy for me? Why have I grown up listening to other people tell me what is good for me? When I'm such an independent thinker, and I always thought that I was very self-aware of that, how come I've never stopped and thought, well, wait, how come I'm not making decisions that do benefit me? How come I'm not treating my skin and eating healthy and exercising in a regime that would work for my body type? Like, pay attention to that stuff, you know? It's common sense, like it should be common sense, but then the moment you start talking to somebody about a diet that consists of anything other than McDonald's and processed whatever GMO you love this week, it's like insane how you're villainized for just wanting people to be aware of what they're putting in and on their body. It's crazy. And if you do decide to pay more attention to stuff like this, to how we treat ourselves, how we treat our society, how we communicate the struggles that we and society are going through, you'll start to realize what I mean. You're villainized. Like, people want to push back so hard. And all of that comes back to just being our chakras, and it's the mirror wall. It's our egos taking over and saying, oh, we've reached the pinnacle of what society could be. We're the smartest and we're the most intelligent that this civilization has ever been. But really, we're a glimpse in time. In 10, 20, 50 years, we're going to be fucking Neanderthals. Like, they're gonna look back and be like, oh my god, they use sunscreen? There's nothing wrong with the sun. The sunscreen gives you skin cancer. That's nobody, no doctor telling me that. That's me putting that together. Do you think 30, 40, 50 years ago they were dousing themselves in sunscreen? No. This is crazy. It's chemical warfare on your skin. And yet we blame skin cancer on the sun. That's nutso bananas. That's just one issue of many that I have with how I was raised to think and why it's so frustrating to push back on society's views when you're just going to be made to look crazy. And that's frustrating to have to deal with. But before I get off topic too much and go on some rant, I do just want to bring focus back on the population of people without home. Next time in your city, if you happen to pass by somebody homeless, instead of feeling obligated to donate money, stop and donate some time. Have a conversation. See what's up. You know, there's a lot of panhandlers. There are a lot of panhandlers in this country and around the world. I do understand that. And I do understand the frustration of hardworking people feeling like they're giving to somebody who's probably making just as much, if not more, than they are. There's been many news stories done on panhandlers who do abuse the kindness of strangers, and that sucks, but that happens in every realm of life ever. Like anything you think of, there are some people who are going to ruin it for the masses. But let me tell you, when I moved to this city, homelessness is real, and it is a problem that every city is struggling to deal with, but it's being pushed away and further back so you don't have to see it on the daily. I come from Minneapolis. It was a city where you would see the random homeless person here and there walking the streets, some playing music for money and stuff like that. I lived in Chicago. I experienced it there as well. But then you would have panhandlers who were abusing the kindness of strangers. So I understand that that happens, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you know what's up. You know your community well enough when you walk down the street. If you feel compelled to give somebody some of your time or money, do it. It's your gut telling you to do it. If you feel like they're jerking you around or there's somebody abusing the situation, then don't give. But always think about what's happening in your society, in your local surrounding area, because homelessness is real, it's everywhere, and we all need to be having a conversation about it, because we all want to be kind and we want to help. We just need to figure out what would benefit everybody involved, and maybe some of the things that we do pay attention and put funds towards aren't working. So yeah, it's really cool that San Francisco built Pier 80, a new shelter for the homeless. However, we need to listen to the homeless if they're not happy with how it's being run or managed. Maybe we need to do something different. Maybe we could be spending less money to help them better. Maybe drug rehabilitation programs and dietary aid, and making sure food and vegetables and fruit are readily available, and not villainizing them and forcing them to take urination tests to test for drugs that we're finding out are proven to not be effective, and we're not finding homeless people on drugs, and the poor are not abusing the system with food stamps and the welfare that they are provided. That is not the problem with our society. We have been told that for too long. We need to wake up and realize the problem is at the top and it's bleeding down, and we all need to just help each other. If you disagree with my views, I am compelled to hear your story. Write it below, because I am fascinated when people just don't understand compassion. But please give your view. If you want to add more to the conversation, also contribute below. I love reading the comments and get discussions going, you know, amongst your friends, amongst your family, coworkers, whatever you can do. But anyway, thank you for listening to my diatribe on this situation. It does hit home for me. I've been dealing with this in my face for 2 years, and it's a thing we all need to be aware of. It impacts you, it changes you. You have more empathy when you are aware of it daily, let me tell you. And we all need to be doing more. I need to be doing more myself. I'm not trying to say that I am doing the most I can be. We all need to do more and take some time to think about what that could be. All right, enough of me going on and on. Have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.